Welcome, angry faithful, to Friday political banter from Angry Me Production. This is What the Hell, the Tariffs Attack. Yeah, that's right. The tariffs from last week attacked, destroyed the economy. We had to listen to all the horrible things that was happening. The stock market was crashing. We're going to a recession. Bill, we're going down. We're going down, right?
But
Right?
do we really have tariffs?
Tariffs on, tariffs off. Tariffs on, tariffs off. Tariffs on. That was kind of an interesting week. Last time we reported that the tariffs were wrecking the economy. Layoffs were happening in the federal government, which they're still happening in the federal government, just not to the extent of like Clinton and Obama, which is kind of funny. But what's really funny about this whole thing is as soon as he's like, you know what? Everybody's in agreement. Everybody's going to play ball with us. What was it, like 76 countries or something like that? Even
Yeah,
the EU?
Yeah, I think it was it may have been 60 or 65 at the time he paused, but it's up to over 75 now.
Yeah. So 75 countries are, so far we're only getting like 10% of the tariffs. He put a pause on them. What's really sad is during those time frames that we had the tariffs, every day was $2 billion. Every day, $2 billion in our pockets. And to the, what was it? It's the reverse of IRS department he was going to make.
Oh, the
export department.
External trade
department.
Yeah, something like that.
But $2 billion a day. $2 billion just for the tariff. I was like, just keep them going.
But remember, it's like insider trading. He's manipulating the market because he kept it secret. Well, wait, he came out and told everyone they should buy. Yeah, that's insider trading to tell everyone. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he did the same thing in the first term. First term,
but I did. But I did goof
this, but he said buy this. Everybody bought that, and whoever did it made like a good amount of money, which is really sad on that whole thing. Is a lot of people are saying it's like he's manipulating the market to fix his pocket, yet he's telling everybody to buy that stuff. So everybody else, he really is, and I love to say this, he really is just about the American people.
And they don't get that.
No, they don't, because he's trying to get everybody money in their pocket.
Well, and he caved. He caved. No, anyone with any sense would have looked at it and went, wait a minute. Okay, he's got these tariffs that are about to start, and he's got over 60 countries already ready to make deals. He can't make deals with them all at once. So anyone with any thought would go, he should pause that while he makes the deals.
Yeah. I mean, even what with the EU is like, oh, we're getting strong arm and everything. We have to cave. We just realized, because we put up a little thing at the end of our episode last week about how much innovation is done in the United States compared to everywhere else. If the EU had something for innovation, It was like it was like a speck. It was a small dot in the
Yeah.
we make everything.
Yeah, we create everything. There's no innovation, there's no invention over there because they're too big on their social garbage, and they've got red tape.
Yes,
They've
exactly.
got red tape like for instance, here's a good example. Uh, Doge, they looked, and the IRS.gov website had their login button in the middle of the page below the fold, where most login buttons you look up, and they're in the upper right corner of the screen, up
Mhm.
here. Well, they said, okay, Doge says, let's move that. And they got with the IRS engineers, and they said the soonest the change could be deployed is July 21st, 103 days, to move a login button. They said they worked with Doge worked with their engineers to delete the red tape and accomplished it in 71 minutes. Now, why did it take that long? Well, the old process required engineers to navigate 14 layers of bureaucratic approvals just to move a button. First, a change advisory board review for user experience impact would have to be filed. Then, separate security, accessibility, and legacy system compatibility assessments, each requiring weeks of documentation. Next, a 30-day public comment period. Despite it being an internal UI tweak, finally, a mandatory 45-day cooling off period for stakeholder alignment, all while taxpayers footed the bill for 3,200 plus man hours of redundant meetings and paperwork to move a login button.
Well, you have to have those meetings, Bill. What are they going to talk about? They
Well,
have to. You give them something to talk about. It's like the water cooler. You have to have the water cooler so people can go by it, fill up the water, talk a little bit, then go about their business. You have
and
to
then
have,
we have, well, and then beyond the water cooler, then you got to have formal meetings.
yes, you have to have formal meetings, dress up, hey, I bought this new jacket. What do you think of it? It looks nice.
But you can see how they can easily get rid of people because just by reforming the system, 3,200 man hours to do that. Okay, so how many people can we fire? But it's not the people's fault, it's the system. The
Yeah.
system has gotten bloated, but after they unbloat the system, how many people can they get rid of? A lot. So are they getting rid of people and making it cut services to us? No,
It doesn't sound
they're
like it.
reforming the system. So there's no services cut. Look how many people you could get rid of in just the process.
It doesn't sound like it really. It sounds like they're trying to get rid of the redundancy, like he was trying to do in his first term. He got rid of so much redundancy in his first term, and they had that little meeting. I think it was like a month after his inauguration, where they had they showed everybody it was like a wall of red tape, and they made it into like a little booklet. It was just ridiculous of how much stuff. Now, another thing I don't like what they're doing right now though, is they're saying is like, "Oh, this is the biggest bump in the stocks since 2008. We're doing so well." That yes, it's a bump in the stocks, and yes, it does go up a little bit, but it's ridiculous to say that everybody was going out selling. They were panicking. They're little bitches. They're like, we're going under. We're going under. Sell everything. I gotta keep my money. All my money's gone. All my money's gone. Your money's not gone. It's just it took a little dip.
Unless you're an idiot and sell it.
Yeah. It's gonna take a little dip, and then it's gonna come right back up. Like,
And conversely, from losing money, I goofed this week. I had planned already. I figured he would pause the tariffs. I figured that last week. So what I was going to do is, okay, I'm going to wait for a couple of to him to get to a bit of do a couple of trade deals. Then I'm going to buy Tesla stock. So I was already planning, probably within less than a week, to buy Tesla stock. And then he does this. So over almost 23% jump in Tesla stock in one day. And once you clear out the idiots burning Teslas and stuff, that's going to eventually fade off. Any interview you do with those people, they have no clue why they're even there. It's going to shoot back up. So it's still got playroom, and it's going to be increasing.
Yeah, it went well. Tesla stock only went, and this is going from. Oh, this is the. We'll go with week. It went from 215, and then it went up again. It went to 244, and then it went down a little bit to 218, and then it jumped up to 268. And it's still going down a little bit, just from a week. If we go for the month, we'll go 3 months, okay? 3 months since he got into Doge, okay? Starting out on January 16th, Tesla was at 413, so it's still on the down spiral. It went down all the way up, down all the way down to right now as it's sitting is 252, and
it's still a decent buy, I think. It's just you would have really caught something phenomenal if you'd caught it at that lowest point.
Well, it's the same thing with the Rolls-Royce stock. When I went back to work, Rolls-Royce stock was at $1.50. So I started buying a little bit of Rolls-Royce stock. Reason why I buy Rolls-Royce stock isn't because I want to be fancy.
Because it's a fine German automobile.
Rolls-Royce is English, you idiot.
I knew that. I'm just trying to relate everything to Hitler, even though my mustache is correct today.
Yeah. But Rolls-Royce, what a lot of people don't know, it's like, oh, you're just buying it for the cars. No, Rolls-Royce makes jet engine blades. And guess what? There's a couple of here's the reason why you need to buy Rolls-Royce stock right now. America is making a new carrier class plane. And guess what the engine they're using? They've already unveiled it. They're going to start making them here in a little bit. But
you're talking about the F-47?
No,
or the new the replacement for the B-2.
The B-2. The replacement for the B-2. They're using Rolls-Royce parts. So right now, when I bought them, they were still in the small stage, prototype stage. They just unveiled it just recently. That stock went up $10 bucks a stock, and I bought it for $1. I literally bought it. I literally bought $1 stock. So I made some change.
Yeah, it's all in the timing.
Yeah, I don't like to gamble on stocks all too much, but here lately I've been doing it a little bit more. I got a lot of medical bills I got to take care of because of my shoulder, my car. Dude, funny story. Guess what I went? Guess what? It went out on my car. I had to buy a new mirror, and it something didn't hit it. Something didn't, bump into it. I was driving down the road, and the mirror part, just the mirror part, just plopped out and hit my hand. I was like, what was that? And I looked over, and I was like, where's my mirror? Oh my God, that was my mirror. So I have to buy a new mirror. So
just the glass part?
Just the glass part. Well,
Yeah,
I ended up by buying the whole thing because I
you
went
could buy $10 for the glass part. I've done that. Glue it right in.
Yeah. I could do that too, but mine has a heater. So if I take so I'm gonna have to buy a whole new one so I can pull it out. And I'm spending an extra $10. So it's $20 for me. So it's no big deal. But
I had a bat go through mine.
That's funny.
All the way through it. And that was over several $100s. But I was just about to go. It was the day before I went on a 4,000-mile driving trip that it happened.
Was it a legitimate bat or was it a batarang? Were you trying to fight Batman?
No, it was a legitimate bat. I thought I got shot. I thought I got shot at because I was driving along and boom, and I hit the accelerator and I go for a while and then I stop and get out and look, and it was the middle of my mirror was like a hole blown through it, and then there was a spray of blood all the way from the mirror trailing out to the back of the car.
That's sad for the bat, but that's awesome.
So he had to. So I had someone just permanently glue a mirror in there just so I could do the trip. And I thought I had hit. I thought some bird or something. And I was at a nature preserve in Dollywood. Has a nature preserve for eagles. And the guy said, "Where were you when that happened?" And I told him, and he said, "Wasn't a bird. It was a bat."
Oh,
they have all kinds of what is the town you head south that's on I-30 or 40?
Oh, it's San Antonio and Austin have big time bats because I got a lot.
He said down there they're little bitty bats that hit it and blew right through. The whole guts of the mirror was out on the ground.
Yeah, San Antonio and Austin area, they have a lot of bats because there's a lot of K systems. But Bill, I hate to say this, but we're going to have to start listening to the Democratic Party. Yeah. I mean, they're making sense now. It's kind of weird.
Or they did make sense.
Hear me out, everybody that's listening to the podcast. We know that sometimes we trash the Democratic Party to hellacious points. But they have points. We're gonna see these points real quick.
Have enjoyed is very simple, Mr. President. The Chinese have enjoyed a huge trade surplus with the United States, as this chart shows. Every year, it gets larger and larger and larger. Much of that trade surplus is because the Chinese don't play fair. They don't let our goods into their country. I can tell you company after company in New York who cannot sell goods in China or can only sell the goods under certain conditions that make it impossible for them to sell them.
Trump's tariffs are driving New York into a recession. Who knows there's real trouble ahead. Everything they're doing is very bad. Very, very bad. That's the only thing we do know.
That was Chuck Schumer from 2005. So we need to start listening to the Democratic Party. You said you found like the full.
Well, I found one from 2017 where he was talking about how evil Trump was because he didn't put tariffs on China quick enough.
I'd like to see him explain his decision to the thousands of steelworkers whose jobs are on the line because their companies aren't competing on a level playing field because China repeatedly subsidizes, doesn't play by the rules, and cheats. It's another classic example of the Trump administration promising one thing, but doing another. President Trump has promised many times to crack down on China, and still 10 months into his administration, his Commerce Secretary is once again needlessly delaying a preliminary step in that effort. Every time I see Secretary Ross, I've known him for 30 years, he's a New Yorker like I am, I say to him, when are we going to do something on China? Oh, we're going to do something tough. And each time there's a different excuse. This should have happened in the first 2 months of the administration. It hasn't. So, because of the Republican inaction, because of the president's unfulfilled and rapidly becoming broken promise on being tough with China, Senate Democrats will be sending a letter to President Trump and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross demanding that the administration keep its promise to crack down on China's unfair and predatory trade practices. Now, one more thing on China. Today I read Tesla, our great car manufacturing company, will be relocating to China. When you want to sell cars or many other advanced products in China, you have to do one of two things. Set up a joint ownership company which lets them steal our intellectual property or face huge tariffs. That's based on the fact that the WTO was poorly negotiated and China was regarded as a developing country. That was the fault of President Bush and President Obama. Neither did enough to stop China. Based on his campaign rhetoric, you'd think President Trump would be tougher as China steals our family jewels. It's no longer clothing and furniture. It's our best industries. They steal our intellectual property by these joint ventures. Sometimes they do it by cyber theft. A lot of times they do it by cyber theft. And it's hurting the good paying jobs that might be available to our children and grandchildren. Based on campaign rhetoric, you'd think President Trump would be tougher on China. But so far, it's been a lot of talk and not very much action.
And here's another one that we need to listen to. Is another person from the Democratic Party that she's saying the same thing. And this is Nancy Pelosi from 1996.
Favored nation status to China. Mr. Speaker, this issue of granting most favored nation status to China is a very important one for the American people. It is about nothing less than our economic future, our national security, and our democratic principles. As you know, the conflict in the House of Representatives and our disagreement on this issue has centered around the issues of trade, proliferation, and human rights. That's why I'm so disappointed that we have so little time to debate this issue today, and I can only ask the Republican leadership of this House and all of those who are so eager to move this along on both sides of the aisle, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the facts? Are you afraid of the New Year's, the 4th of July break, constituents who cannot afford to travel to Washington with businesses would have time to express their views to their members of Congress? Are you afraid of 100,000 young people in Golden Gate Park gathered together to support free Tibet? I wish our colleagues were here and not away to a funeral or without votes off of Capitol Hill, because the facts must be heard by them. Because today, members of Congress will be asked to set down a marker. How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of you to each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996. Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%, from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%, and it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president, in his statement requesting this special waiver, said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. Please, yeah.
You're saying that 170,000 jobs are created in the United States by the China trade, but aren't there many more jobs that are lost in the United States?
Well, that's my point that I was getting to. I appreciate the gentleman for focusing on that. The fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. And one of the reasons that it is because well, first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say the trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11 times, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit.
So we really need to listen to Nancy Pelosi. I mean, Bill, your mic's off. There we go. We need to listen to Nancy Pelosi. She made some valid points in that statement. I mean, sure, it was kind of like 1996, but I really think we need to listen to that statement from 1996. Because we are literally going, we found out how horrible our manufacturing jobs are just from 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. We can't say the thing that happened in 2020 because we actually want to get the subscribers and views and stuff like that. And yes,
we want to remain live.
We want to remain live. That's another key. But the thing about it is we see the problem that we were having. I mean, right now with the Panama Canal, which right now is actually not going to be a big deal.
We're going to take it.
No, not even that. Mexico's making another trade route. It's a lot longer canal. I think it's going to be like 110 miles compared to the Panama Canal. That's like 80 miles. But Mexico, it's been in the work for like years. I was watching this thing on YouTube about it, how Mexico is making a new they've been in the works for the canal, and they're lost a little bit of funding from it, and they had to stop for a while, and they're reinitiating it now. But it's going to be a little bit faster even though it's longer, because it's it's more closer to a lot of the trade routes.
Is it an actual canal or is it a railway?
No, it's not a railway. It's a canal.
Wow. Oh, she was mentioning the trade deficit way back. I think that said 86 on that video. She was a lot better looking back then. Man, she didn't age well. 295.4 billion is our current trade deficit with China. And they say, like, I was following some people on X that some Chinese people, even had to hit translate on it. I was following their conversations. Laughing at the stupid Americans because we're going to be dumping our knockoffs because you have your trade, high, the percentage high. We're just going to shift our knockoffs to other countries like Vietnam, and then they'll shift them to you. So trade diversions. And this came up, and you look at Trump. He's got his trade with China. He's increasing the tariffs, and the latest thing they're saying is, but no other country is going with him on this. He's going to be all alone. No, why is he going to be negotiating with the other countries? He's going to be negotiating. When he negotiates the trade deal, it's not going to be just products between us. It's going to be products between, like, Vietnam. Okay, we do a trade deal with Vietnam. Within our trade deal is going to be, okay, you can't trade with China. You have to limit products from China going into America.
So they're not
going to do that. And so you look at India was a good recent example. And here's just a few second clip that Laura had from I'll let you see it.
On the same page on the China trap. Today's India's Commerce Minister sounded downright Trumpian.
This growth was fueled by unfair trade practices, happened at the cost of fair play. Large parts of the world got carried into the narrative of low-cost manufacturing, low-cost goods coming from one particular geography, but did not realize the long-term impact that it would have at the global stage.
Bingo. And another positive sign.
Now, I highly recommend, when I see something like that, when I see a clip like that, I'll take and I'll actually go, okay, that's out of, that's context. It's cut and paste. Yeah. But what is the entire thing? So I highly recommend. I won't play it here because it's kind of lengthy, but I recommend. Oh, okay.
Bill.
Yeah, I recommend looking for the video of the India Global Forum 2025 Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal's vision. That's where that came from. That's where her clip came from. So watch the entire thing. The first 14 minutes and 30 seconds is him. Then it goes into a interview with Bloomberg that he sat down with at the same forum. And she, of course, tries to trap him into saying, I hate Trump and going against Tesla. And one of the things he said is I'm not going to give Bloomberg headlines. He said, this is something for the boardroom. This is not something for the public. And that was wild. But you notice that one thing Schumer had said back in the 2017 clip was about China joining the World Trade Organization. Now he goes into his little talk about that's when everything started going south. When China, right before they started joining the World Trade Organization, they already been planning this. So a lot of these trade deals we've had going for the last 20, 30 years have been based on other countries and China. They've been based on that. You don't think so. You look at it as just trade between, Germany and Britain or something. But in there in a lot of those deals is China. So he's really, you could get that. He said that 2001 date and was saying, that's what we need to fix. And she was trying to make Trump as your friend is now your enemy. And he's like, no. Basically, they're going to be working. That he confirms it, what I just said, that they're going to be working. India is going to be working with America to shut China out. They're going to box China in. And one of the good points he got into was she tried to get him to slam Tesla. Well, Tesla's building and Tesla's going over there. Why shouldn't Tesla be stopped? And he said, well, because Tesla is not subsidized by the government. That's why it's their cheap $12,000, $14,000 cars from BYD. He said, he specifically stated, okay, BYD, yeah, they're paid by the Chinese government. They're subsidized so they can sell cheap cars to ruin our market. So he said, anything that is subsidized by the government, we're looking for worldwide fair trade. Anything subsidized by the government, they need to stop. So this isn't a matter of, Trump caved. Everything he does, China. Everything he's going to be doing with other countries on trade, a lot of it is China. And right now people say that, I may have gotten into this before, people say, prices are going to rise, Well, one, prices aren't going to rise. If they do, okay, the tariffs have been put on a hold for 90 days. You got them against China. Yeah, they may rise for a time, but you get something like Samsung. Samsung is the headquarters in South Korea. Oh, your Samsung products, China. Well, okay, take the LCD screens. They're made in China, but they're also made in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the control boards, every component of a Samsung monitor is made in multiple countries. So they don't have to go around us. They can just not use the Chinese products and assemble the Samsung with components that aren't Chinese and send it to us. So we can still have the lower cost items. It's just not coming from China components. So the price, whatever prices increase, it's not going to be huge increases on everything for a long time. That's the gloom and doom of the Democrats. They're like, oh, everything's gonna be forever. It's a tax on the American people. Well, it's a tax on the American people if it's going to be permanent.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be permanent. So what people are doing right now, these are the kind of people we have right now. Panicans. A person whose entire personality is producing fear porn aimed at anything President Donald Trump says, does, or suggests. There is a theory they read the book Chicken Little too much as a child. Examples of panicans include anyone employed by CNN, MSNBC, those who include pronouns in their bio, and especially those who said Biden was mentally fit. Everyone on The View is a panicking. Now, they went into on the 5 that Jessica Tarlov, I think it was Jesse who goes, "You're a panicking," and the word actually came from Trump.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Trump called people panicans.
That is,
and they defined it.
Now, also on that canal, I'm going to have Stephanie Hawking say it because it's a lot of words.
Isthmus of Tehuantepec Interoceanic Corridor.
Anyways, the Isthmus Tehuantepec Interoceanic Corridor. It's a $7.5 billion project that also includes railway, port infrastructure to connect the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. This project aims to create a shipping alternative to the Panama Canal, offering land-based routes for transporting goods. So that's what's in the works from Mexico, which I don't mind it. If they can make the infrastructure a little bit more faster, and don't do like with the Suez Canal, like where that one boat got stuck and ruined our shipping for like 2 weeks. That was horrible. That was just horrible. Anyways, Eurus, I thought we did this last week, but we'll do it again. I don't care. Something that Jon Stewart did. Did you say that he got his eyes opened up about something?
Yeah, he got his eyes open. It's how I was talking about government red tape. How I was talking about red tape. Well, he got his eyes open on red tape.
We have to issue the notice of funding opportunity within 180 days. That's step one. Step two, which all 56 state.
Just a little background. They're referring to the internet, how the approvals through Biden, where he said, "I'm going to get internet to people for free, rural internet." That's what this is referring to.
Okay.
Applicants completed. Is states who want to participate must submit a letter of intent. After they do that, they can submit a request for up to $5 million in planning grants. Then the NTIA, step 4, has to review and approve and award planning grants, not broadband grants, planning grants.
And it's still at the NTIA. It's still at the first step.
All right, so the NTIA must issue a NOFO within 180 days. States who want to participate must submit their letter of intent. Step 3, they can request up to $5 million in planning grants.
Just planning.
Just planning. Step 4, the requests are reviewed, approved, and awarded by the NTIA, which currently all 56, 3 years later, all 56 applicants had passed through at least step 5. It took more than 3 years. So it's a long time. States must submit a 5-year action plan. So the states kind of go back and they kind of think about how they're going to do this. And they don't just say, okay, thank you for the money. We're going to spend it. And you can see how it worked out later. We're like, here's our 5-year action plan. Then the FCC must publish the broadband data maps before NTIA allocates funds. So having done the NOFO, the letters of intent, the request for planning grants, then the review, approval, and awarding of the planning grants, then the 5-year action plans. In between that, the federal government has to put forward a map saying where it thinks we need rural broadband subsidies. And then, of course, the states need an opportunity to challenge the map for accuracy. And you can imagine this doesn't all happen in like a day. Okay, so then the NTIA, step 7, has to use the FCC maps to make allocation decisions. Then, having already done their letter of intent, the request for planning grants, it's hard even to talk about this, man. Step 7 is NTIA must use the FCC maps that were already challenged for allocation decisions. Then, having submitted all this, I think this one is actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
Having submitted their 5-year plans or letters of intent, step 8 is states must submit an initial proposal to the NTIA. Then,
is that the result of their $5 million planning fund? This initial
I assume,
proposal?
but then what was the 5-year plan?
And what the fuck did they apply for? What was their NOFO?
Like, if the 5-year action plan isn't the initial proposal, then what's the 5-year action
Forget NOFO.
Okay.
MOFO.
Step 9, NTIA must review and approve each state's, again, initial proposal. by my read, we have had at least 2 initial proposals here, but that's a different issue.
Oh my God.
Step 10, states must publish their own map and allow internal challenges to their own map. So the government has published a map. They have invited the states to challenge the map. Then states have submitted initial proposals, and they then have to publish their own map and allow challenges.
Wait, who's challenging it within the state?
Well, organized interest groups, environmental groups, like I don't know who specifically, but literally anybody. This is, right. I want to say something because it's very important I say this. This is the Biden administration's process for its own bill. They wanted this to happen. This is how liberal government works now.
This is something they instituted for this bill.
For their bill. This is a bill passed by Democrats with a regulatory structure written by Democratic administration. Okay.
Right.
Step 11. The NTIA must review and improve the challenge results and the final map. So the NTIA has put forward a map. The states have challenged that map. Then the states have put forward their maps, had other challenges. And now the NTIA must review and approve the challenges to the state maps. Okay. So we've done step 11, NTIA must review and approve challenge results and final map. We've lost 9 of the applicants at that point. Step 12, states must run a competitive sub-granting process.
Oh my fucking God. At step 12, after all this has been done.
Yeah, none of that could have happened along the way here. We have now lost 17 more applicants. So now 30 of 56 have completed step 12. Step 13, states must submit a final proposal. This all the proposals weren't enough to NTIA. Now that goes to 3 of 56. So we've gone in the last couple of steps from 56 had gone to this point to 3 of 56. Step 14, the NTIA must review and approve the state's final proposal. And that is 3 of the 56 jurisdictions and states are there. In summary, states are nearly at the finish line. And it says to stop their progress now, or worse, to make them go backwards, would be a stick in the spokes of the most promising broadband deployment plans we have ever seen. End scene.
I'm speechless. Honestly, it's far worse than I could have imagined. But the fact that they amputated their own legs on this is what's so stunning.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And that's exactly what they do, though. That's why they we're going to do roads and bridges. We're going to do roads and bridges. Republicans are evil because they won't. Well, they do roads and bridges, and then they add so much regulation into it that what should be a 2 or 3 year roads and bridges project is 5, 10, 15 or 10 or 15 years. So from the intro stage where you recommend it, so it never gets done. Then they can keep it as a talking point for the next election. So they rig the system so that nothing gets done, just so they can blame it on Republicans and use it on the next election.
Well, not even give it against Republicans. The Democratic gets the same thing on some of the stuff that they needed to be done. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Bureaucracy this, bureaucracy that. We're trying. We're almost there. We're almost there. Bill, we're gonna save humanity. We're almost there. We have the money up in grabs. We're gonna save humanity. It's almost there. It's just gonna take a little bit more time. And if you vote for me, I'll keep it going. If you don't, it's gonna be in the wastebasket.
Well, Trump is going to save humanity. That's why he put tariffs on a small island that just has penguins on it. But anyway,
I mean, those penguins need to pay.
Yeah, and the latest that I heard today that he came out with to try to court Greenland is possibly give all citizens of Greenland $10,000 every year.
Well, that's not that bad. Okay, hear me out on that one. There's only 50,000 people in Greenland. That's literally, I think it might be a little bit more.
Yeah, 56.
56. Okay, yeah, 56 people in Greenland, and they get $10,000 a year from us, so we can do our stuff. I think they should take.
You know, right now Denmark gives them about 500 million just to survive, but that's Denmark's main contribution to them.
What's Denmark's GDP, and are they able to keep this up?
Well, they have been for decades.
Well, I know they have been from decades, but I'm just trying to figure out why they would keep it up. I mean, I understand, yes, there's mineral rights and everything, but Greenland still has the say so if it can or can't be done.
And Denmark doesn't even control the mineral rights. They gave up the mineral rights to Greenland. Mm-hmm. They control uranium rights to uranium, and then they get to say Greenland is ours. And Greenland is self-determining. They have a self-determination agreement, so Greenland can break away. They can vote to break away. So will they? I don't know. You know, this is $560 million us just to the citizens. They're giving $500 million just to the country. We would give $560 million to the citizens, and then go down and mine. They would get revenue from their own mining. That's how they would survive, and not the mines that are currently being built, where it would require lots of Chinese citizens to be transported to Greenland to work the mines, because these 56,000 people aren't miners on one side of the country, even though I think the majority of the people are in some limited areas in the country.
Well, the other thing on that is I was hearing something through the ether that if you go to Greenland, you literally have to shack up with a family member because there's not that much. There's no hotels or anything much at Greenland.
I haven't looked at their tourism industry. I know Iceland would be an awesome place to visit. I was already planning on visiting Iceland. Was going to take a cruise and spend an extra few days there. Some of the best waterfalls in the world are in Iceland. They do have hotels to stay at, but I've never looked at like booking.com Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling up my booking.com app,
well,
which I frequently use, and we're not necessarily endorsing booking.com, but I do like it.
While you're doing that, we're going to take a listen to Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary. And this is what he has to say about China.
And I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that
I
look
want
like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough.
See, that was another thing that I kind of always wondered about, like everybody in Hollywood was shipping making all their stuff Chinese safe. I mean, they changed the Sorcerer Supreme from Doctor Strange, the first one, to a Gaelic from Tibet, because Tibet's owned by China, even though Tibet's not owned by China, and they always have like problems with Tibet. But Marvel had to change that. Disney had to change that because of that, because they wanted to show it in China, which they were going through loopholes, they're going through hoops, they were trying to do everything they can to help support China so they'll watch their movies and everything. And it got super ridiculous. Now there's a lot of movies that China doesn't even want anymore. And Hollywood's going down because of that. Let me see here. There's another thing that
Can you find Trump's comment on Hollywood a couple of days ago?
I'll look for that after
in history.
After I show this.
There are not even any Republicans left in this hearing. They all left because they don't even want to defend this. But meanwhile, the speaker is rushing to the floor to pass a budget reconciliation to screw America by passing the biggest tax cut in history on the backs of the American people. WTF? Who's in charge?
Okay, that was.
There are not even any Republicans left in this.
Representative Stephen Hortsford of Nevada, Democrat of Nevada. He was upset that they went in and cut corners so they can make a tax cut for the U.S. citizens. That's so strange, Bill. We don't want tax cuts, do we?
No. We got to set through a commercial. One moment.
But yeah.
Well, I'll be. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. And next steps for China, sir?
Well, we'll see what happens with China. We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond anybody, nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable. And we're talking about many presidents, not just a couple. But they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're setting the table. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well. I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time. And I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries. I look forward to it.
Mr. President, China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things. Yes, please.
He's heard of worse things. He's not too concerned about Hollywood and China and them losing some bucks there. That's fine.
Yeah.
Up yours with Hollywood. Hey, I just noticed one thing I haven't figured out how to do on the Booking.com app is convert currency. So I have to DKK. What is that? That isn't a donor.
DKK?
Yeah, the currency. What is that currency of Greenland? That would be Denmark's currency.
Deutschmarks.
Deutschmarks. Okay. Right now, one night, just the first one I pulled up, And it looks like, oh, there's a cheaper one. Oh, it's got a shared bathroom. Okay. An average room is $200 a night, US dollars.
That's not bad.
They do have hotels in Greenland.
Hell,
Yay! And they are now a
shouldn't-
lot of them are shared bathrooms. So I don't know if they're hostels or something.
Hostels.
Yeah, those.
Hostels. They're hostels, Bill.
I'm in Texas, so they're hostels.
But here's another thing that I found that was kind of weird. And we'll talk about it after we watch it. It's really weird, and it's another Schumacher thing.
Yesterday afternoon, Senator Chuck Schumer sat down with PBS NewsHour to talk about the Democrats' so-called strategy to combat President Trump's evil Republican agenda. And sure, that's standard partisan rhetoric, but here's the problem. Chuck Schumer accidentally admitted to committing a federal crime. And no, I'm not joking. So folks, I want you all to take a listen to the clip. Then we're going to have a lot to talk about.
In 2017, when he was last here, Nancy Pelosi and I said we're going to go after him on health care. He was very unpopular with that. We're going to go after him on tax breaks for the rich. And then we won the House and picked up some seats in the Senate in 2018. Same thing is going to happen now. And we're going to go after him in so many different ways. We are doing much better on the social media, led by Cory Booker and Tina Smith in our House. And so we're reaching people who were not reached before. We are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences. This is a long, relentless fight that we fight every day. And I am confident that we will bring Trump's popularity, numbers, and strength down if we keep at it and keep at it and keep at it.
Okay, so folks, did you hear that bit at the end? As Chuck Schumer very clearly said, we are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences. Now, folks, in case you didn't know, that is a big-time federal crime. You see, according to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, you are not allowed to intimidate, threaten, or coerce anyone in an effort to interfere with their vote, including elected officials. But so here we have the Senate Minority Leader, one of the most powerful Democrats in the country, bragging on live television about how they're sending out people to pressure Republicans into changing their votes, or, quote, face the consequences. But now, folks, here's the deal. We all already know that the Democrats and their progressive NGO buddies have been paying protesters for decades, but this right here, this is next level. This isn't just some shady backroom deal or a group of anonymous protesters. No, this is Senator Chuck Schumer on live television openly admitting that the Democrats are sending paid agitators into Republican districts to intimidate voters. And remember, let's not forget that this is coming from the very same people that love to get up on their soapbox and preach about how President Trump and all of his radical MAGA voters are a threat to our democracy.
So, yeah. It for the party that's supposed to be for peace, it's kind of ridiculous that they're always trying to go after people and cause
party of peace. Yeah.
and cause damage and like that weird thing to where what was that thing? It was up at the Capitol. It was a big protest, but it ended up being something bad. I want to say it was no, it wasn't January 6th. It was the Democratic Party, and they found a pipe bomb. Weird. I think they actually
that kind of vanished.
Yeah. Don't know why that vanished. Don't want to show their true face. But
yeah. I'm just glancing at Canada, and it looks like Carney is pulling way ahead of Pullivar, however he's pronounced. and they're as of today 43.9 versus 37.5 for the conservatives. So if Carney is elected, expect Alberta to really get serious. I think she's already set up the framework to start a commission to look at breaking away from Canada. Evidently, they made it a little bit more difficult than when I think it was British Columbia. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. They had tried to break away. Back then, it was just real simple, just a simple vote. So evidently, they got to form a commission. But Danielle is ready to do that. So I'm really looking forward to Alberta 51, and maybe Saskatchewan 52. And then Greenland 53. So let's add three new states. Greenland may be a territory, but we want Canada, especially Alberta and their oil.
Well, I was looking at the map and I was like, could we do like a pipeline through there and go through Alaska too? Or no, we can't do that. But that would be very interesting. Oh, I would love to see it. And I hate to say this because it's just me looking at all the stuff. We still have to have congressional support to actually vote in a new state. Could it happen? Yes. Would it be a lot of bureaucracy to go through it? Yes. I don't know how that would go with Canada. I mean, they would probably have a schnips.
Well, the thing about Canada is you were talking about pipeline through Alaska. We would have to get British Columbia too.
Yeah,
have a direct pipeline. And do we want that? It's like Canada projections, and I don't know what these are called. They're senator, Congress people, whatever, their version of it. Alberta, the projection is 60 conservative, 27 liberal. 37 conservative and 27 liberal for Saskatchewan. That has closed in. That's been, way out there, but we're looking 47 liberal, 44 conservative for British Columbia. I don't think we want that. And Ontario can go suck it. They're 80 is their liberal to 27 and 14 for the other parties.
Yeah. It would doing
we just want Alberta.
Yeah.
Maybe Saskatchewan.
Yeah. It's one of those ones that it would be good, but it'd be bad at the same time if we get the whole thing. It's like, whoa.
God, no. Oh God, no. We don't want the whole thing. I mean, geez, you get well, one of the big things that Carney has done is he faked people out by saying, "Oh, okay, look, I'm getting rid of carbon taxes." And no, he didn't. He had no authority to do that without passing it through their version of Congress. But he said he did to get elected. But then the EU has, for some of their products, it starts in 2026, January 2026. They're going to require carbon credits on products traded between other nations.
Carbon credits?
Yeah, if you have something that's polluting such and such amount, it's got to be taxed. You got to be taxing your citizens, or they collect a tax on it. And that's starting January of 2026. So when Trump talks about these indirect things like the Chinese government funding an automobile company, the VAT tax in Europe, they haven't really mentioned it yet. I just saw it because I was following people in Canada, and one of them in Canada mentioned it that, oh, hey, he's doing this, but we're going to still pay it because he wants to do this big join up with the EU. No one has mentioned that yet, but there's a carbon tax that's going to be involved. I'm sure Trump knows, and once he's doing big, beautiful negotiations with the EU, that's going to be something he's got to strike down. because there's no way in hell you're going to put carbon taxes on us.
Yeah.
Or even just throw the extra tax on that would be like a tariff.
It you got to watch Fat Electrician's chicken video about the Hilux. He explains a lot of that. We're not allowed to have Hilux vehicles here in the United States, and you just watch it. It's so interesting. I'll bring it up one of these days. But the way they tax stuff to get people to stop people to purchase like a certain item in the United States, EU, wherever, who's purchasing on which side, it doesn't really matter, but they'll tax their taxation's just ridiculous if they don't want something. It's like the same thing that we had with the Huawei phones that we were supposed to have, which we ended up having like Huawei internet things in our cell towers. We have them now, which they need to get rid of.
No relation to the gas station chain that everyone in the North likes called Wawa. Yeah, not related.
Wawa?
Yeah, that's their version of our Quick Trip.
I've heard of Snaps. Snaps is like the dinosaur one, and that's all the way.
Dinosaur?
Yeah, green dinosaur. I don't. Let me look real quick. Green dinosaur gas station. Sinclair. God, I ruined that. Sinclair.
Man, I was thinking like what?
Yeah, I messed that one up. My bad. But no,
I really think it is. I really hope it is Wawa that I'm thinking about, because I have a friend up in the Northeast who talks about it all the time.
Wow, it's no Buc-ee's.
Oh yeah. Well, who knows? Who knows when they're going to get Buc-ee's? I actually can see, because somehow, sometime or another, I downloaded some routine, and now my Google Maps is stuck on Buc-ee's. It shows me every time I pull up Google Maps.
Oh wow!
It shows me every Buc-ee's that has been announced, every Buc-ee's that is currently under construction. And it looks like all the way into Harrisburg, Virginia is the furthest to the northeast, and Huber Heights, Ohio currently has Buc-ee's under construction. And that's what has caused Buc-ee's to go a little downhill when they started branching out to those rude-ass people in other parts of the country. You know, they got out of Texas. They got out of Yeehaw, Texas, great, friendly, Lone Star. And then they started getting into infiltrating the Northeast, the rude people. Okay, let's get rid of this and that. Anyway, hate it that they got rid of the Buc-ee's Club.
Anyways, we got one last thing that I wanted to showcase on this show. And this is... Let me get this right. Full screen this. And...
IRS.
There we go.
called. Why did you say yes to taking this job?
When he talked to me, he said, I would like very much if you'd consider the Department of Education. And he said, but you know what my mandate is? My mandate is to close it down. And he said, so I need your buy-in on that. I said, absolutely.
No hesitation.
No hesitation.
Why were you so okay with closing down the Department of Education?
Because I think the Department of Education has become so bureaucratic. Some people incorrectly think that the Department of Education controls curriculum, that it has input on what books are decided, hiring of teachers, superintendents. We do none of that. We are a policy shop, but we're also a funding pass-through for federally appropriated funds for our Title I schools, for our special needs schools, for our Office of Civil Rights. So all of that, we are doing, but those could be handled by departments where they were handled before there was a Department of Education. Mm-hmm. And they were handled primarily through HEW, Department of Health, Education, and Welfare at the time. President Carter set up the Department of Education, and it became effective in 1980. Since then, we've spent over $1 trillion in education to only see our scores continue to go down. Yeah. We're investing in bureaucracy. We're not investing in our students.
Now, saying that, the reason why I wanted to say that is Columbia University lost $400 million this week because injunctions. But a lot of the school districts and colleges are losing a lot of funding because of that, and it's because of their policies, what they want to do, what they want to get with. They want. There were so many transgender athletes that were men that were trying to compete as women in the women's sports. And yes, we can say that now. Thank gosh. But a lot of the athletes, there was a fencer. She was on Fox News. There was a golfer this week. But a lot of them are going to the fact, and they're standing up for themselves. And they're like, oh, we don't care. And what happens in a couple of days is those colleges loses a lot of funding. There is one that lost $700 million in funding. Anyways, you were saying, Bill?
I was really impressed, and glancing for it, can't find it right now. But if you get emails from Yahoo News, which is generally "We hate Trump, we hate Trump." There's one recently where they actually asked people what they thought about getting rid of the Department of Education. And they asked for comments, and I clicked on it and went over there, and it was amazing. There were a lot of teachers who said, yeah, they should, that's a good thing to get rid of them. And most of the people who were against getting rid of it were stuff like school lunch program things, which have been transferred or are going to be transferred to HHS. So there are school programs that are still going to exist. There's just, as we've discussed, the government overlap. This and this going on. The same group doing different groups doing the same things. So they're moving the school lunch program over to HHS. They're moving school loans over to the Commerce Department. So these things are, oh my God, they're getting rid of. No, they're not getting rid of. They're moving them to other places that exist, so they don't need the big bureaucratic teepee, going down. But anyway,
and since you're halfway gonna put the video up, I'm gonna put the full video of where you can find it. It's called the Fat Files. And here we go.
Just once in my life, I would like to go to the internet with a question and have my question answered without falling into an enormous rabbit hole of government conspiracies and nonsense. Okay, long story short, Toyota's got this new truck coming out. It's just a flatbed, plain Jane work truck, nothing fancy about it, and it was supposed to be like $10,000 or $11,000 brand new. So naturally, I wanted one. So naturally, I go to the internet with the simple question, am I going to be able to buy this new Toyota truck in America? To which I am met with the answer, probably not, most likely for the same reason you can't buy a Toyota Hilux, which is the other thing that's been pissing me off for 10 years inside of America. And naturally, in the back of my head, I just kind of assumed like, oh, Toyota just doesn't want to sell that truck in America for some reason. Maybe the money's not right, it costs too much to import, whatever. And yeah, it does cost too much to import, but it's because of chickens and Lyndon B. Johnson. That's why.
What's that? Nick's so mad he forgot to send me a segue for the ad. Well, that means we gotta do it, right? Yeah. I don't know what that was. Play the ad. Me?
This video is sponsored by Oro, where you can get everything stolen. They offer up to $1 million slowest moving vehicle I have ever. If you want a Hilux, just get a Tacoma. They're basically the same thing. No, they are not, for multiple reasons. For one, I've driven a Tacoma, and it is literally the slowest moving vehicle I have ever driven in my entire life. That thing accelerates from 0 to 60 in like 3 to 5 business days, okay? Fucking Fred Flintstone would beat that thing in a drag race. Secondly, I don't vividly remember being 14 years old watching Top Gear with my dad and seeing those guys drop a fucking Tacoma into the ocean for 8 hours, fishing it out, and then getting it started in like 15 minutes. And then, because that wasn't enough to kill it, they decided they were going to hit it with a wrecking ball, drive it through a building, light it on fire, and then stick it on top of a skyscraper before blowing the entire building up with it. And then the motherfucker still started, okay? Tacomas are not on the same level as Hiluxes. I don't care what you say, you will never convince me otherwise. It is the equivalent of my mom trying to convince me that store brand toaster pastries are Pop-Tarts. No, they're not. Pop-Tarts are Pop-Tarts, and Pop-Tarts are fucking awesome. And you want to know why I can't get my metaphorical Pop-Tart, why I can't own and drive my own Toyota Hilux? It's because America was too good at selling chickens in the 1950s and 60s. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so here's the deal. Generally speaking, throughout the majority of human history, chickens have always been like super expensive and seen as only something that rich people got to eat until very recently, which, think about it for a second, it starts to make a little bit more sense. You have like cows and goats and llamas and whatever other fucking farm animals you have, and they just basically wander around and they eat the grass, okay? That's not very expensive. Then you have pigs, you can literally just feed them garbage and they'll turn it into bacon somehow through evolutionary magic. Chickens, on the other hand, you have to like feed them grain and like actually give them real food that a human could technically eat. So, historically speaking, they've always been one of the more expensive farm animals, so only rich people got to eat them. Then in the 1950s, after World War II, thanks to refrigeration and a couple of other innovations, America got super good at raising chickens. They got so good, in fact, that we could raise chickens, slaughter them in America, ship them across a fucking ocean while refrigerating them, and sell them in Europe, and it was still cheaper than people could grow and raise chickens in Europe, so Europe was eating a bunch of American chicken.
So they had too much cock?
I guess that's one way to put it. Why?
Just never thought I'd hear that come out of my mouth.
Anyways, this goes on for a number of years, and the European countries, primarily Germany, was spearheading this entire thing. They get together and they're like, hey, let's put a 25% tariff on American chicken coming into the European market. That way, European chicken is more competitive. And if that wasn't enough, they started a major propaganda campaign basically saying that America fills their chickens full of antibiotics and growth hormones, so it's really unhealthy for people to eat, which, I mean, honestly, that's probably a fair assessment. But regardless, America's now pissed off. So this is 1962 when this European tariff on American chicken passes, and for the next 18 months, it is the pinnacle of American politics, trying to get Europe to buy more American chickens, and it becomes known as the Chicken War, right in the middle of the Cold War. I'm not even exaggerating. There were literally American politicians that cared more about getting Europeans to eat more chicken than they did about the pending nuclear war with the Soviet Union. The Chancellor of Germany, Konrad Adenauer, said that he had more conversations with JFK about Germans eating American chicken than he did about the pending nuclear war. There was a senator from Arkansas that was sitting in a NATO meeting when he stood up, interrupted the entire NATO meeting, and declared that America was going to withdraw from NATO and Europe could defend itself if they didn't lift the sanctions on American chicken. Obviously, that didn't actually happen. Despite that, the tariff ended up staying up, and after 18 months of trying to diplomatically solve this issue, then President Lyndon B. Johnson was like, fuck it, I'm just going to put a tariff on you guys too, and he put a 25% tariff tariff on potato starch, dextrin, brandy, and light cargo vehicles. Now, obviously, chicken is a food product, which they are tariffing, so America is going to tariff dextrin, potato starch, and brandy, which are also food products. That part makes sense, but why on earth is America going to start taxing light cargo vehicles? Well, you see, that's where the good old-fashioned political corruption comes in, because it's 1964, it's an election year, and the UAE is about to go on strike, the United Automotive Workers Union, and them going on strike during an election year is going to be disastrous for Lyndon B. Johnson's chances of getting reelected. So LBJ and the president of the UAE come to a little quid pro quo agreement. In exchange for the UAE not going on strike during LBJ's election, LBJ is going to abuse his political power to make sure that somehow, some way, so many Volkswagen Type 2s, which are incredibly popular in America right now, quit getting imported, aka the Love Bus. You know, you've seen those. This is where they went. They went away because of this. So this is why light cargo vehicles gets added to the chicken tax, adding a 25% tariff to basically make it so that Germany can't import the Type 2. Now, light cargo vehicle at this point in time is defined as 2 seats or less and designed to transport cargo. So then because of that, all the foreign auto car makers like Toyota and Honda and all the other ones that make small trucks, not wanting to pay a 25% tax to import their trucks, start importing the truck itself, like the chassis and the cab and the motor, all completely built in their country, and then they ship over the bed separately, and then they have a warehouse where they like throw a couple of bolts on and attach the bed, so that way it's assembled in America and they're only going to get taxed 4% instead of 25% because the US government is this fucking stupid. So then in the 1980s, the US government closes that loophole, to which all the other auto car makers are like, fine, we'll just exploit another loophole, we'll just start adding more seats, so that way there's more than 2 seats, so it's not a cargo vehicle, it's just a normal vehicle. And this is why every small to mid-sized truck, 1980s through like the early 2000s, had those tiny little seats in the back that no human could ever actually fit on. It's because they were never actually designed for people to sit on. They were just there so that they could legally.
I always wondered that, because no one would be able to fit in those seats.
Well, you know, RFK Jr. is, looking up at cleaning up the additives and all the growth crap in our foods. So some countries say that's the reason they have some tariffs on our food items, is they don't want them over there because of the garbage. And if he cleans it out, they got no excuse.
Yeah. Well, let's continue.
Say, oh, it's designed to sit more than 2 people, therefore I get taxed at 4% instead of 25%, again, because the government is dumb. Which, fun fact, this is also why the Subaru Brat had those stupid plastic seats in the back. And then they came out with the CAFE standards, which is basically like trying to, save the environment with emissions and stuff, and the rule was the vehicle has to be like proportional compared to how much emission that it emits, I guess. So like, if a truck is really big, it can emit a bunch of CO2 into the atmosphere, but if a truck is really small, it's not allowed to emit a bunch of CO2 into the atmosphere. And this is actually why all the trucks in America are fucking ginormous lately in like the last 20 years. Okay, I know that's like a super popular thing to bitch about. Like you hear a bunch of hippies and college kids bitching about how American trucks are too big and it's more dangerous and they're taking up space on the road and they're beating up the infrastructure. Yeah, it's because of stupid fucking emissions policies, because it's easier for automakers to just make the truck physically fucking larger than it is to make the emissions somehow magically lower. So that's why that's happening.
Do you know what's really fun? Making a web.
Okay, well, cancel that. You have to go look at it online. It's a Fat Files. Look him up. He's popular. You'll find him. Anyways,
actually, I was what I was going to recommend people watch. You saw that I kind of had it up over here. It was a reaction to, and it happened to have been that Fat Files guy. That's what you saw. It had nothing to do with the car. I was going to recommend for people a little diversion away from anything political to watch it. But if you don't want to watch the actual reaction video to it, you should watch this Fat Files guy. Look up The Most American Thing Ever, Bass Pro Shops.
Oh yeah, that was the recent one. That was really cool.
It is an awesome video. So don't necessarily look up the reaction that I had. It looks like they have the actual video. I just did not know who that guy was till you just pulled it up.
Oh, but dude, I
look
met
for
him.
that. Look for the Redneck Mecca, the most American thing ever.
No, the guy
And he does go in and mention oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Alex Jones. He mentions Alex Jones freaking out about the pyramid in Memphis, the Bass Pro Shops pyramid in Memphis, that it was a big occult thing. It's really hilarious. He goes in and plays some clips on that. And I have been in that Bass Pro Shops. That's what that big pyramid is when you go through Memphis. That's right by the river. It is a Bass Pro Shops. It has the highest freestanding elevator in the world in it. Goes up to the top of it with a restaurant and an observation deck that has a glass floor. So you can step out. You're looking down the pyramid.
Yeah,
I took and put one toe on the glass thing just to say I touched it, but I wasn't going to step out on it. My wife did, but
yeah, Nick is a really good guy.
Who is that motley crew?
That's Nick, me, Brandon Herrera, Donut Operator, Eli Double Tap. The unsub.
I had no audio.
You got audio now? Can you hear? Oh no, we lost Bill. We lost Bill. Anyways,
do you have audio from me?
Yes.
I have no audio from you.
That's weird. We'll figure it out. But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. I'm David Dickerman. Since Bill can't hear me, why host has muted your mic. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Love you guys. Later.